Hey, what's going on, guys? Albro Citizen K9. Um, this video is a precursor towards a video that my friend asked for me to make. So before I talk about that video, I need to talk about something else, and that has a lot to do with how we walk our dogs. Okay, so first off, let's just talk about leashes and how we're using it on our children nowadays. I've seen a lot of people in public taking their children on leashes, and I get it. We want them to learn to walk in public, but we don't quite trust their judgment when it comes to their final destination, right? And eventually, we have to do away with these leashes and tell the kids to walk next to us, or like my wife would do in kindergarten, tell yourself to find a buddy and hold hands, right? If they do wander off, we probably reprimand them. I think that's the right thing to do, physically, or if it's probably verbally. But that's where things get diversified, right? Some would spank their children, and some would help them understand that we don't want them to get lost for one reason or another, obviously for good reason. But what happens if we instill the idea of being lost? I think if we plant this seed, then it basically makes sure the child understands that wandering off may lead to something dangerous. Basically, the fear of being lost. So, both ways we're still inflicting fear. If it's physical fear or giving the child an imagination of being lost, is still instilling fear, right? So, the reason I'm talking about this, guys, is because I personally see positives in both, and it's all dependent on the personality of the child. Some children are sensitive, some are stubborn, or some are both. But we just do what we can, the best we can, right, Kai? We do the best we can. Thank you. So I'm talking about this not to tell you what to do with your kids, but I personally take kids as humans, as the same, almost the same as our domesticated animals, because we bred them to work with us, and they're basically like children, right? So that's why we use leashes, because we don't want them to wander off either. But at the same time, we have sensitive and stubborn kids. We also have, we can definitely profile the type of dogs we have, basic by breed, or with some discrepancy on intentional breeding or mixed breeding and poor breeding. But with that being said, let's just dive into the elephant in the room, the prong collar. And some people may call it the torture device, but all in all, most people avoid it because it looks dangerous, and basically anybody who wouldn't punish their kids physically probably wouldn't use the prong collar. Okay? But first, we need to talk about why we use the prong collar, or why we use the leash in the first place. And that has a lot to do with understanding why they even wander off, right? So, do they wander off because we just assume they can't understand any better, and because they're animals, or because they're dumb, and because they're dumb they can't understand us, or the parents aren't responsible enough? So let's just start off with the flat collar, because that's where it all started, right? The leash got attached to something, and it's the flat collar usually. And those are great for holding tags. In fact, I love that thing. If people used it more often, we wouldn't have so many Netflix videos on the dogs running away and getting lost and having all these adventures. But then again, they won't be saving everybody and being friends with a mountain lion. I think I saw that somewhere. But guys, just have tags on your dog, and usually it's on a flat collar. But people tend to have a rough time using that collar when walking, and it's been known to damage the trachea if the dog starts learning to start pulling on that flat collar, because the tension ends up being right here. Not on the sides, not on the back, just in the front as they keep pulling, right? So we have to understand that a lot of breeds like pulling, sled dogs for one. So then why not just use a harness? Because that helps them pull harder, and then you're not going to have a fun time walking a sled dog on a harness. So then smart and creative humans came up with the choke collar, which chokes and possibly squeezes all around, limitless, so it can also damage the trachea if you have a dog from 0 to 20 miles an hour with a 10-foot leash or a 6-foot leash. So then we decided, okay, let's try a martingale. Martingale has a limited amount of choke. It goes It starts from here and it just chokes just a little bit rather than a choke collar that can choke all the way. So that was a little bit of a better idea, I think. And then there's these dual martingale systems like Cesar Milans, which I think is kind of cool. There's a lot of different kinds, okay guys? I'm not going to go through all of them. But then there's the one that you see on horses that they put on dogs, like the Gentle Leader. I like that one. It resembles something that goes on a horse, and I don't have much interaction with horses, but I think they're pretty cool. I really wish Karen, if you're watching this, I like to hang out with your horses sometime, please. But I would recommend those because all I've seen is a very quick fix and it's pretty immediate. So if you don't want to teach your dog anything, but you just want to be able to walk your dog, I think the Gentle Leader is a good idea. So basically all these collars are just to help us walk our dogs. So along with our verbal and physical cues to walk this way, not that way, not in front of us. But hopefully someday they'll be able to understand and walk next to us without a leash. That is the main objective in my opinion. But if we're simply happy with the idea of using the leash forever, which is perfectly acceptable to most, including myself, depending on, you know, the environment, the Gentle Leader will probably be the winner here. So why do we mess with all these devices like the martingale and harness? Because we don't want them to pull, but if we fail at that, then at least use the harness, right? Something that doesn't hurt them. So here I am spiraling back at the main idea. Why do trainers use the prong collar? Why is the prong collar still being used if it's invasive, if it looks like it's painful? So let me first state that I think keeping your dog on a leash is only a necessity if they can't ever comprehend that I want them by my side, unless told otherwise, like go play. That's my cue. You just saw him kind of flinch when I said that. In fact, I want all my dogs to be able to be free as possible. Now that to me is complete happiness there. Just like our children, we don't want them on a leash by the time they're an adult. We should be able to walk as partners side by side. So in order for our dogs to be free, they need to understand that I want them to be next to me when I have them on a leash. And they are taught with the flat collar indoors at first when I train them, and then I use the prong collar indoors, so there's no distractions. Then when we go outside, they understand my expectations, and when they pull forward for one reason or another, a pinch of discomfort along with my verbal cues, okay, verbal corrections will remind them that of my expectations. And if it's a younger dog, this doesn't take long. If it's an older dog with bad habits of leading and pulling forward, then it may take a little bit longer, but with consistency, it'll teach them how I want them to walk without the constant pulling and choking of the trachea, okay? So the pinch is discomfort. Regardless, it's not comfortable, but I'm very careful not to use it with a pop or for them to run full throttle. If that were to happen, I would slack off on that leash because I don't want them to feel anything more than a pinch. Once they understand proximity, you'd be surprised how relaxed that leash becomes as they gradually invite structure in their lives. I'm a firm believer of walking interactively, and so they look up to me to tell them when I'm going to turn. So I'm not popping them or pulling them. I'm telling them, let's go this way, let's go that way. Or if I'm going to stop, I tell them that I'm going to stop before I actually make that move. If I don't do that, then all it really is bullying, okay? So there's definitely structure when I walk them. So you'll see in my channel a lot of my working dogs walking next to me unless I give them the, okay, let's play, or okay, you can go play suggestion. That means that you're free. And even when they're free, they understand to not run across the street or don't instigate in anything. Don't be naughty, basically, okay? Because I trust them 100% by that time. I take them off that collar, off that leash. So with Kaiser here, I trust him so well that when I let him go and he needs to stretch his legs, he can run off 10 houses down. I'll have a remote collar on me because I don't want to yell far enough for 10 houses. That will just be alarming, right? So I'll click the vibrate, or I'll click a very light stim that doesn't hurt him. It just signals him that I'm calling you, and you can see him come running back with excitement. Probably run past me because he wants to play a little bit more, but he's still letting me know, Dad, I'm right here. Okay. with that aside, the prong is a tool to guide them towards a path of pure freedom. Now, if we fail at leash walking and telling them how to do it, then you'll never get to the point. So that's what the prong collar is for. But you'll also notice that working dogs may use the prong collars their entire lives. If you look at those canine videos, or the police or military dogs, they're using the prong collar all the time unless they're on agitation collar, which is this thick to prevent trachea damage, because they're inviting that pull before they release them to grab their prey, which is usually a bad guy. So only pops of the prong can tell that driven dog to calm the hell down. There's no other way, because you raise them to be hard. It's kind of like a UFC fighter. You think you're going to tap them on the shoulder after they're fighting? Hey, stop please. You're going to have to push them like a ref, or get right in front. And the only reason those refs stop, the only reason those fighters stop is because they want to keep fighting afterwards. Otherwise, you're going to slap them just to get them to stop, I think. So simply put, guys, the prong could be dangerous in the wrong hands. It's not as dangerous as some people think. I never seen stab wounds from a prong collar. It probably takes a lot of power to do that. But the flat collar is very dangerous to high drive dogs, because they won't respond to it and they don't understand the prolonged effect of trachea damage. Okay? But in the end goal is freedom. Society deems leash walking dogs as being responsible parents. Okay? But if our end goal is to have 100% recall and structured walking with or without the leash, then there is a place for the prong in training high drive dogs. That's the bottom line, guys. Okay, so my next video will be to help those of my students that are having a little bit of problems with the prong collar, because I use the prong collar so gently, sometimes they actually start pulling with the prong collar. So that we don't want that. So we need to address that in the next video. But I hope this helps take the stigma out of the prong collar, because I just want you guys to know I'm not there to hurt your dogs. I'm there to direct them towards a better future. Okay, so here's a Happy New Year's, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.